Ultimately, we try and provide interventions and alternatives to parents to keep parents out of court, because once you end up in that court process, we end up in a situation whereby parents' resilience is eroded. Parents, particularly dads, aren't necessarily clued up. So what we offer there is a service and support network through branch and helpline about how to talk to professionals, because when we're going through this process, or when dads are going through this process, how you would normally interact with people completely crumbles. Your whole mental state does change because you're not seeing your children, or you're having significantly reduced time with them.
Greg Cavadino, he's going to be talking about the work of his charity, Families Need Fathers, which seeks to obtain the best possible blend of both parents in the lives of children following divorce. Thank you. Over to you, Greg. And you've got a presentation as well.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As Mark said, my name is Greg Cavadino. I'm a trustee and treasurer for Families Need Fathers. First off, who are we? I don't think people realise that charities like us exist until something like this family breakdown or family separation happens to them. We're a charity that's been in existence since 1974. So next year is our 50th anniversary. So that goes to show that, you know, this issue hasn't just happened overnight. It's something that's been impacting dads and children for the last 50 years. Our ambition ultimately is to become the go-to shared parenting charity in the UK. The evidence base that we have, not just in the UK, but globally, is that, you know, having both parents involved with children post-separation, it gives children by far the best outcomes. So what do we do? So we offer a range of advice to predominantly dads. We've got a growing network of mothers and grandparents that contact us, but it's predominantly dads that we offer our services to. We offer a range of advice on shared parenting strategies with dads who call us. Generally, parents that call us are at crisis point because they've tried to negotiate and leverage time with their children unsuccessfully. Alongside parenting, we offer advice on finances, so how to deal with the child maintenance service, how to support children financially without the interventions of the child maintenance service, and also court-ordered financial circumstances that arise. One thing we've looked at, or one thing we've noticed over the last few years, is a growth in international abduction. And this is something that we've set up a specialist group on, because we've seen a lot of parents contacting us where parents have moved out of jurisdiction. And this is a very different service offering that we've started to offer, because this doesn't exist in the UK to our knowledge. Ultimately, we try and provide interventions and alternatives to parents to keep parents out of court, because once you end up in that court process, we end up in a situation whereby parents' resilience is eroded. Parents, particularly dads, aren't necessarily clued up. So what we offer there is a service and support network through branch and helpline about how to talk to professionals, because when we're going through this process, or when dads are going through this process, how you would normally interact with people completely crumbles. Your whole mental state does change because you're not seeing your children, or you're having significantly reduced time with them. So we offer that kind of support network to enable parents to how to deal with CAFCAS, how to deal with solicitors, and ultimately how to deal with your ex-partner in maintaining and establishing and maintaining a relationship with children. We try and keep parents resilient through the process. So we do have repeat visits to our branch network and our helpline for parents who are just after that constant support that they don't necessarily get in their own friendship group, because they speak to friends, they speak to relatives, family, and I think there's only so much support that friends can advise on. Our branch network, we have 50 locations throughout the UK, and very similarly to other support groups, for want of a better word, that are in operation in other charities, we find that this gives parents an opportunity to sit down with parents who have gone through this process. The branches and groups are led by volunteers, predominantly, who have gone through this process and are able to offer that support. We also have a number of attended branches whereby solicitors and barristers on a pro bono basis come along and offer parents that advice that they wouldn't necessarily get free with any other organisation. That support network is for us around that shared experience. The good thing of that is that we do have a number of parents who give back through fundraising. So we do have quite a few parents that do sponsored walks and etc. On behalf of the charity. The helpline that we offer is open 7 days a week. That is manned by 13 volunteers, and we get in the region of 20 to 22,000 calls per year inbound. And those calls range from 5 minutes up to 45 minutes to 60 minutes in evenings and weekends, because parents have more time. And again, that's on a whole range of subjects. During COVID, obviously the branch network collapsed, and that contact to the helpline increased by about 50% to over 30,000 calls. So that was a service that didn't really exist in the UK for parents to utilise. I think, like Nav said before, what we don't do, we're not specialist in counselling services. So the service that we offer is supported by signposting to specialist services for male domestic abuse and suicide. And that's not a service we offer, but we recognise the volunteers who help us recognise that the red flags in those calls and can signpost accordingly. Online support, we've got a whole range of paywall forum for our members and fact sheets on pretty much every subject that you can imagine that parents and dads go through in this process. And online interactive courses. So we offer a number of Zoom courses, not just on family court, but also self-help, self-awareness, mental health. Those Zoom courses are free. It's not just for members, it's for any member of the public that would decide to come along. Campaigning is obviously something that we've been quite vocal on the last 50 years. We're currently on the panel for the presumption of parental involvement. And that's something that is, could be of severe detriment to dads in particular, if the consultation decides to go one way or another. In the past, we've been significantly involved in consultations on paternity leave, child poverty, child maintenance, and all of these impact dads specifically. I think, like Nav touched on before, we do see a number of parents who use keywords in our conversations through the helpline, through branches on suicide. So we know that these issues are very prevalent in society today. The other one is building the research base, and over the last 50 years, we have built a good research base. And over the last few years in particular, the pace of change on the evidence with around alienating behaviours, as an example, and shared parenting has moved a long way. So, specifically in Spain, with the research that was done there, in Sweden, and also working with some of the organisations in the US who've moved to shared parenting as a matter of fact. We do get good membership feedback. I've dropped this in just as an aid memoir, so to speak, but the feedback that we get, not just through our branches, but also through our helpline, has been fantastic over the years. Moving forwards, family separation is a growing national crisis, and we can see that through the data. We've got a volume of family law cases growing exponentially. And that's not just family law cases, it's also things like non-molestation orders, occupation orders, which are potentially being used by vexatious litigants to gain the upper hand. And we see that in the contacts that we do have with parents. So this is something we do need to tackle. And to do that, we'd like to offer some more intervention strategies. So we'd like to grow our helpline and branch network. So we're investing in that over the next 6 to 12 months. In-house training, and I think Nav touched on it before, we're going into schools, and again, supporting parents through that journey with employers. So more and more employers are realising that there's pastoral care programmes that they can run. And this is something that I think FNF can offer through the experience of volunteers and also paid resource, is to go into companies and offer a service whereby parents who are going through family breakdown have the opportunity to attend an hour-long seminar to go and get help. Go to charity professionals. We do get a number of referrals from professional organisations, believe it or not, from organisations like CAFCAS, independent social workers, the police, contact centres. So this is something that we are looking at strategically to make sure that parents can get a referral from people who are directly involved in the family court process, but also the indirect ones through stuff like police and ambulance service. We're going to continue to build on our academic research, and this is something I think that FNF has been strong on the last 50 years. We'd like to try and utilise that and show parents how they can deal and interact with an ex-partner effectively to maintain and establish relationships with children, and obviously continue to campaign with governments on shared parenting. And that's it from me, but thank you for listening.